And welcome back to Season 3 of Deathbattle Review, or a review of Deathbattle Season 3. Done the first two, those were the long ones. Now they're going to be a lot more shorter, concise, but basically shortened down. Doesn't mean I'm not going to go into detail about the death battles. In fact, having less death battles to talk about gives me more room to actually talk about them a bit more in detail if I can. So I'm certainly going to go more in depth them if I can. As always, it's just my opinion. Also, if you do want me to do death battle reviews in the future for the actual death battles when they come out, let me know in the comments below. But let's just get into it. So, coming up first, we got Dante versus Bayonetta. This one is like, there's little I can say about this that hasn't already been said. This is a near perfect death battle. Their analysis is good. I like the jokes work. I like Monkey Witch. I was like, wait, so she is human? Dibs. Like, that is very funny. And then the fight, I love the setup for the fight. Dante is looking for something only a demon or angel would be looking for, which prompts Bayonetta to be like, oh, okay, this guy's an enemy. Makes sense. And their fight goes down. I like the Witch Time versus the Quicksilver. I like the fact that everything Bayonetta's throwing at Dante, he's just kind of shrugging off. I'll be honest. The one thing about this fight that I do not love is when Trish and... oh, I can't remember the other one's name. But when Trish and the other girl kind of show up, I'm like, it's fun, but it's actually kind of unnecessary and doesn't do anything for the overall fight. It doesn't add anything. Yeah, it was an introduction to DBX where I'm just going to make them fight. So there is that, but it didn't really add anything. Otherwise, the fight is ultimately great. Madame Butterfly, Dante taking down Madame Butterfly, them clashing, that pause, and then sort of the reveal of Bayonetta, the one who's more injured than Dante because he's been skewered before all the time. 9 out of 10 death battle for me. I love it. Bowser versus Ganon is a thing. Like, I remember this one existed, but I frankly didn't remember much of the actual fight. And to be honest, the way it ended didn't really add up. Like, when they explained what Bowser was capable of surviving and how he just kind of lost, like, I don't know. And, like, it looked okay. The sprite work was alright, all that. But, yeah, it's just kind of a so-so death battle. The jokes, I don't really remember anything that stood out. It's an average death battle. It's not terrible. It wasn't terrible watching it. I enjoyed it enough. It's a 5 out of 10. Perfectly fine. Ratchet versus Clank, man. That's another one where it's like, I want to say it's a 10 out of 10. Like all the jokes are usually on point. The characterizations are really good. Like Jack and Dax particularly are very much in character, particularly Dax. And I like the fact that he does get involved with the fight a little bit, whereas Clank is just kind of sitting on the sideline except for turning into the jetpack and stopping the time freeze shenanigan. And I love the fact that we get to see teamwork. I will say, though, that the fight... I think one of the reasons that this one falls as low as it does on the list for me, and when I say low, I mean it's an 8 out of 10 fight, easy. The animation is great, all that. But the problem for me is the setup for the fight doesn't actually add up. Ratchet apologizes for destroying something, says he can fix it. There's a bigger boom. He says, I can fix that too. And then Clank basically calls him a weasel, and now the fight begins. Now, I get that Dax is a bit of a hothead, sure, but I don't know. Something to me, it's like that doesn't seem the most logical, but still, it's within character, I suppose. But still, 8 out of 10, solid fight, 100%. Flash versus Quicksilver, I wish this fight were a lot better than it was. But it's just, mostly it's just running around. That's all it is. This isn't like Sonic versus Flash, where even though it was a lot of running around, there was still actual fighting going on. This was just mostly a race with the occasional punch or super ability thrown in. And really, it's just kind of, and because of that, it's just kind of boring. Like, yeah, sure, Flash makes a tornado. Great. They punch each other a bit. Whatever. The only reason it goes to above average for me, 6 to 10, is that last part where he takes Quicksilver into the Speed Force. Where, you can feel around you the Speed Force, the energy, and here I am king, like that was a good moment. That was a cool moment. That kind of bumps it up for me, and I like the fact how they just talk about how ridiculous the Speed Force really is, which they get more into that in Flash versus Sonic. Oh, do they ever. But it's a 6 out of 10. It's above average, but it's not great. Joker vs. Sweet Tooth is definitely better, but not by a long margin. Honestly, there's, again, nothing that really stands out to me in terms of their analysis that was really good, that was really all that interesting. The fight itself is very well animated, and whoever's doing the voice of the Joker is having a ball and doing a great impression. And I do like the fact, too, that the Joker being so cunning, that's how he basically gets over Sweet Tooth, because Sweet Tooth is an idiot. So I do like that. The fight is fun, and I do agree with the result. It's just, it's fine. It's 7 out of 10, and I think that a lot of that goes to just the animation quality alone for me. Mewtwo vs. Shadow, I'll admit, is not very good. It's not terrible. It's certainly better than the worst of the worst. It's not like anything god awful. Shadow basically looking for the Chaos Emeralds, and Mewtwo, being in the cave where one is kept, and you're here. I mean, yeah, they're I guess in character enough. Though Shadow seems to be a bit more just dumb, and that is an irritation to me. Also, I like the fact Mewtwo won and the reason why Mewtwo won. The fact that he just skewered him with a spoon, like, really? That's how you kill him? I do not agree with the way he went out, but I did agree overall with the result. It's a 4 out of 10. It's below average, not one I rewatch, but it's not terrible by any stretch of the means. One that is pretty solid is Carolina versus the Meta, or Meta versus the Carolina, or the Meta versus Carolina. I mean, this is the first collaboration they had with Red versus Blue, and it shows. Like, it's a really well put together fight. And the choreography in it is fantastic. The CGI is great. I do like that the analysis is a lot more hands-on with the red and blue crew. I do like that. It's pretty funny. And the result, the end fight, the way he dies is really good too. So I mean, that's an 8 out of 10 fight for me. Honestly, the only things that really hold it back is it is on the different side for the fight. Yeah, I do agree with that, and because that it does stand out a little bit, or better or worse, it does stand out. And it was also just two characters I didn't really care that much about because I don't follow red and blue. So it is what it is. That was an 8.5 out of 10, I should say. Candy vs. Sonya sucks. There is like nothing positive about this. Even the jokes aren't that great. Like Boomstick prevent trying to not talk about Cammy's ass. Okay, fine. What's the point? And then you get to the actual. That's the only joke I can even remember. Then the actual fight. Cammy's sprite didn't look terrible. That Cammy's sprite looked okay. Sonya's, though, by comparison, yeah, I get it. It's from the game, but this is why the Mortal Kombat ones don't always translate very well. This looked terrible. Like this, and then they're like, the fight isn't that good. The sprites clashing with each other. Choreography sucks. There's one or two fun moments, like being like thrown by with legs. I'm like, that's kind of fun, and there's a good shot of Cammy kind of all bloody coming out of a fire. But ultimately, it's just, oh god, 2 out of 10. Just a not good fight. Not a good fight. Tracer versus Scout, on the other hand, is actually a pretty solid fight. Now, granted, this actually gets hindered not because of how it like starts or how it ends. No, this just gets hindered because when you look at this fight, it was kind of obvious. It was kind of obvious who was going to win, like completely. You look at fights and you see them and you think, okay, maybe it could go either way. Then you look at fights like, how is this a fight? I mean, I get it. It's a request. It's kind of like when I do a who would win. It's a request. I take it. Clearly, it's a smackdown on one's part, but I take it. But yeah, overall, like the fight is good. The guy playing Tracer and the woman playing the woman playing Tracer and the guy playing the Scout, they're both on point with their impressions, 100%. Maybe there was the real people, I don't know, but they are both on point. The animation is clean, absolutely, but it suffers honestly just because, like, well, what do you think is going to happen here? If there was more of a debate on who would actually win, sure, but I feel like that's not the case here. So 7.5 out of 10 for me, and that's real. A lot of it's because just the animation was solid and the fight itself was good. Just again, no jokes that really stand out to me or anything like that. Ken versus Terry Bogart. This is one I actually didn't get right when I called it, and honestly, watching it, like, okay, it's just another martial arts fight, and it's another pixelated martial arts fight. It's not like it's terrible or anything. It just doesn't stand out. There's no standout moments. The analysis, there's nothing strong about the analysis, honestly. It's a 5 out of 10 fight. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not amazing. Neither is really Ramona versus Amy Rose. In fact, this one is pretty bad, if I'm going to be honest. The animation wasn't terrible, although the sprites looked very contrasted. Like, they were very weird next to each other. Even almost weirder than the Mortal Kombat sprites versus anyone they're fighting. There's a couple moments here or there, but ultimately, the thing is, I don't see the reason for the fight. The reason they're fighting doesn't make any sense. So, I don't see why they were fighting. There's not really much that stands out to me. I do like the fact that she was so annoying that even Sonic couldn't get away from her. Or Amy Rose. I did like that joke. Ramona, honestly, is just not an interesting character. She wasn't even that interesting in the movie, although she was a much better, well put together character than, say, Scott was. Scott is a notoriously terrible person in that movie. So ultimately, yeah, this is nothing stands out to me very much. I mean, okay, the multiple versions of Ramona fighting Amy, that stood out a little bit, but ultimately, just nothing really stood out. 3 out of 10 fight. Not god awful, not the worst, but certainly not a good episode. One that is a good episode, though, is Hulk vs. Doomsday. That is a top quality episode right there. It is not a perfect episode. I will say that there are some effects issues in that fight, definitely. Like Hulk, honestly, boxing, gloving with the cars, that looked a little off. How they demonstrated Doomsday's healing factor, I felt was a little weird. But the analysis is strong. I love the fact that they call out Bertrand as the worst scientist. That doesn't sound like science. No, it doesn't. But then sometimes you just need a good old-fashioned beatdown, man. This was a good old-fashioned beatdown. Yeah. I need to Hulk stronger. Hulk, you pretty strong. You break cars good, but the whole break worlds. Like, that's pretty awesome. That was pretty good stuff right there. Yeah, honestly, the minor bits of animation issues aside, this is like a 9 out of 10 fight. This is as near close as you can possibly have. One that comes near close, that is Zorro versus Heirs of Scarlet. This, while not a 9 out of 10, this is like an 8 out of 10 fight for me. And that's saying a lot because it's a pixel fight. I mean, but the animation, their sprites look good. In fact, they look clean. They look really good. The choreography is really solid as well. And then, that you get that moment of, Zorro just coming up and just showing up Urza. Just like, that's a solid, great moment. The analysis is strong. Like Boomstick, I believe, is like, wait, Boomstick, I'm sensing something. Something bad happened to her. Yeah. So, I mean, but yeah, and then the death itself is brutal, just splitting her in half. So, yeah, or cutting her in half. Terminology, 6 out of 10 fight. Definitely solid fight. And then this leaves Deadpool versus Pinkie Pie. Now, this is a joke fight, folks. This apparently was not supposed to be the season finale. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were supposed to do something else for the season finale, and it did not pan out that way. So, yeah, they ultimately got stuck with this. Now, granted, it does have the fun little advantage of being Deadpool. So Deadpool's fun, albeit This is when the breaking the fourth wall stick was kind of starting to wear a little bit. Then Pinkie Pie also being able to break the fourth wall was a bit much. However, when the fight starts, like, okay, now you're starting to do some fun stuff. They like slide, like float right through the versus like bracket cutoff marker, using the health bars or using the ads and just beating each other with them. And then it's not a fight anymore because now they're breaking their fourth wall and going into other death battles. And there's and then going to the creators and all that, Boom Quiz, Ben, and stuff like that, and having a birthday party. Like, who lost? I think we did, Boomstick. Because though it's like a Segata versus Chuck Norris, or a Rebecca Black versus Justin Bieber, or a Wiley versus Dr. Robotnik, because it's one of those types of endings, I don't love it very much because of that, but it is still funny to watch, certainly. Deadpool versus Pinkie Pie, I think it's a 6 out of 10. So the average rating then, frankly, goes to, for this season, was a 6.2 out of 10. This was the lowest average rating for any death battle at that point. And spoiler, I actually believe it's the lowest I had for any death battle season, period. If I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. I'm just looking at the other ones. Yes, it is the lowest period of any death battle at that point. It is the lowest grade. Season 3 was the lowest average ranking, in my opinion, for a death battle. Now, this also had to do with A, they had the least amount of death battles per season, and B, there were definitely a couple of real bangers. Hulk versus Doomsday, Dante versus Bayonetta, Meta versus the Carolina. There was also quite a few, in my opinion, not so great ones. Shadow versus Mewtwo, Cammy versus Sony was terrible, Ramona Flowers versus Amy Rose, and just a lot of middle road ones. Once we get into like a couple of the next seasons, honestly, that's when the rankings really going to start to go back up. But for now, that is my thoughts on Death Battle Season 3. What did you think of Death Battle Season 3? What did you think of any of those death battles within Death Battle Season 3? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. And I'll catch you folks later.